Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to be talking about the weird dude I went on a date with. I don't know what I'm going to be titling this video, so you will see why as you listen to this video or listen to my story time, because I think even you will be confused on what to even call this because there's a lot to it, and it's not like, I don't think it's not like any other story time I've listened to before. This is my personal story, by the way, so I don't even know. I didn't see anyone go through this, so if you went through this, let me know. Comment down below if you went through this, because I would really like to know, because it would be very interesting if this has happened to anybody else besides me, because sometimes I think I just have really bad luck with guys, and you will see why. But yeah, let's just get into the video. So in this video, I'll be talking about this guy. I will be referring him as the 30-year-old or dude. I might say the dude or dude. So this dude, I worked with him. He was like 30 years old. Obviously, I said this like 10 times now. We worked together. He worked at the store longer than me. I think he worked there for like 7-8 years or something. And everybody said he was really nice, just a very quiet guy. I started working there, and apparently like he liked me. He thought it was really cute, and he told everybody, and then it ended up going back to me. And I'm like, well, I don't know, because he's a lot older than me. I don't really date older guys. I like to date guys that are like 3 years older than me at the most. He was just very quiet, so I didn't really know much about him, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I'll have anything in common with him, blah blah. But I was like, well, since you guys said he's a nice guy, like maybe things will work out, you know, just because I thought he was a nice guy. But he ended up asking me out eventually. So he's like, can I get your phone number? I'm like, yeah. And then he asked me out, and I'm like, okay, cool, so this is a legit thing, we're gonna do this, like we're gonna go on a date. And during that time too, he didn't really text me much, which I thought was weird, because I was like, well, if I'm talking to somebody, I talk to them texting wise a bit, just to get to know them and like their interests, so I know what to talk about if I go on the date with the person. And I think that's like common sense. I'm pretty sure like a lot of people do that, especially like our age. But I was trying to give him the benefit of doubt, because he was like 30 years old, and I'm like, maybe 30-year-olds don't really do that, I don't know. And then he also said that he'd rather like talk to me on the date to get to know me, but it's like, well, I don't even know what to ask you. And like now, if we go on a date, I'm gonna be like shy, and I don't know what to say, you know what I mean? So that's not really fun for me. So we end up going on a date. He picks me up in the Uber, and I made him a happy birthday card, because I think his birthday was like before. He thought it was really sweet, and he's like, nobody's ever done this for me. And I'm like, and that's because I'm wet. Not really. But we ended up going to this art museum, and it was really cool because I like art a lot. I like anything art-wise. So we go to the art museum. I thought it was really cool. I liked looking at all the art, and I'm in my head, I'm like thinking like, what was this person feeling like when they were creating this? And you know, like, but yeah, you just gotta get into the artistic mind. So I'm trying to do that at the art museum, and then this dude's like, so what are you into? And I'm thinking like, oh, maybe he's thinking like how I'm thinking with the art. And I'm like, well, I like this one a lot, but like I wonder like how they were feeling, like blah blah blah. And he's all like, no, like what are you into? And I'm like, art? I also like books, you know? He's like, do you want to sit on the couch? So we sit on the couch, and from like all this like art, and it was really pretty. Like honestly, if I find a photo, I'm just gonna pop the photo up like right here if I have the photo still. But it was like really pretty. It was like all the art and everything, and I was like, wow, you know. And like we're sitting on this couch, and then there's a bunch of art behind us too. And then this guy goes in to ask me, he's all like, so like, are you into feet? And I'm like, huh? He's like, are you into feet? And I'm looking around to see if anyone heard us, but we're the only person like on the top floor. And I'm over here thinking to myself, did this dude actually ask me if I'm into feet? And I was like, I think feet are ugly. And he's like, well, like, have you ever done anything like with feet? And I'm like, do you have like a foot fetish? And he's all like, no, I was just curious. And I'm like, no, I don't. And I was like, thinking like, oh, like this weirdo. And then he's like, well, what are you into? And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable, you know, because I think it's weird that one, this is our first date, two, we haven't really spoke much besides looking at all the art, and three, now you're asking me about if I'm into feet, and you haven't even asked me about my favorite color, fam. Like, what the heck? So then that ended really fast. I was like, oh, let's go get some food. We ended up walking to the restaurant. It was a really nice restaurant, super bougie. I was not expecting it, but it was really, really nice. And it was nicer than the one that he wanted to go to. So she was really cute. So we go in, super busy, super loud. We get our seats and it gets really busy and loud so we can barely talk. We order our food and he's eating his food. And like, I ain't trying to judge. I am not trying to judge, but it's gonna sound extremely judgy. I'm gonna sound very judgy when I do this, but it's funny to me at the same time. So it sounds like I'm making fun of him and it sounds like I'm judging him. But it's not meant to be that way. But you have to remember, he did ask me about the feet thing before anything else. And he barely texted me. But it was kind of gross too. Like, it really grossed me out. But when he was eating like this. He was looking up at me, but his eyes were like this. So he's like eating. It was really gross and it was very sloppy. I'm like, okay, how are we gonna be at this really nice restaurant and you're gonna be eating like a bug? He looks like a bug and he was eating like a bug. And I'm like, how is he eating like a bug at this really nice restaurant? No. After the restaurant, we start walking around and he's like, do you want to go to a bar? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to a bar. So I wanted to take my shoes off though, because we were walking around so much. So I take my shoes off. He's like, okay, we can just stand here. And I'm like, well, we can still walk to like the destination. He's like, no, we can stand. And I'm like, why do you want to stand? And he's like, so you don't have to walk barefoot. And I'm like, well, I don't mind. And he's like, well, what if there's glass? And I'm like, well, I can walk around the glass, like I look down when I walk. And he's all like, well, what if your feet get dirty? Like your feet's gonna get dirty. I'm like, why would it matter if my feet get dirty? He's like, just put your shoes on. I'm like, okay. Like, why are you so weird about my feet? He has a foot fetish, bet. Or he wants to cut my feet off. I don't know. We'll get to that. We ended up calling in the Uber, and I decided to pick like a bar / restaurant that was closest to my house, because if I need to get out of the situation, I will walk my happy butt home. Like, I do not give a crap. I will literally walk in. I have pepper spray. I will pepper spray a dude if I need to. If you haven't watched my video, I'm gonna link it down below where I pepper sprayed a dude and I talk about that. But yeah, no, I will pepper spray a dude if I need to. So we go to the restaurant / bar. So we're just sitting there and everything. And he's like, well, why don't you order like a beer or something? I'm like, well, I don't really drink and I just turned 21. And he's like, well, that doesn't matter. I'm like, yeah, it kind of does. I don't really have a high drinking tolerance, dude. He's all like, well, it's fine because you can feel safe with me. And I'm like, I don't really feel safe with you. But I didn't say that. I was just thinking it. Because like, one, you're asking me like my sexualness and asking me if I like feet, and now I think you want to cut off my feet, and then you keep peer pressuring me to drink, and you ate like a bug. I ain't gonna drop that. And so I ended up asking the waiter, I'm like, what's the least amount of alcohol for a drink here? Like low alcohol, like not a lot at all. And she's like, well, we can do this. And I'm like, okay, I'll get that. I'll just get one of those. And it's because dude kept like peer pressuring me to drink, and I'm like, well, if I get something that doesn't have a lot of drink in it, you know, just use that, drink that. So I order my drink. He comes back from the bathroom, he orders a drink, and then she's like, can I get both of your IDs? So I give her my ID, he gives her his, and she's like, oh wow, you're going on a date with a baby. And I'm like thinking like, hell yeah, he is. And he's all like, we're talking and everything, and I'm drinking my drink, my low alcohol drink. It was pretty low, I think. That, or I had a lot of adrenaline. I don't know. And like, I don't know, it's just really weird. I can't even remember everything that we talked about. I just knew I felt weird and uncomfortable the whole time. And then he ended up having the Uber take me home, so I thought that was cool. I'm like, okay, well, I'm never doing this again, and I'm never going on a date with this guy ever again. I let him know. I told him like, hey, I like you more as a friend, blah blah blah. It ended, which was cool. A month later, it was November. This is also the time when I got my appendix taken out. And Sarah and I are at a restaurant, same restaurant actually, that him and I went to for like the bar to get drinks. So we're over there, and I get a text from like my coworker, and she's all like, dude, the 30-year-old dude just got arrested by the FBI. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, like they all came in, like 4 men, and like the FBI uniform took him out and arrested him. And I'm like thinking like, what the hell? Like, I missed this. I'm like, of course I'm missing this. I'm like, what the hell did he do? And I'm like, oh my god, what if he was like drugging girls and assaulting them and then killing them? I'm like, mind blown. This is what I'm betting. I'm putting money on this, basically. I'm like, this is how I felt when I was on the date. And then like a couple of weeks later, like the thing came out that he was trying to sell a 12-year-old across the states or the country. I don't remember. It was either states or the country. It was a 12-year-old. And I don't know if it was sex trafficking. I don't know if it was slavery. I don't know the situation or who it was. But I think that's very interesting. And they were watching him for like 3 years, and he wasn't supposed to be around any computers, and that's also why he didn't use his Facebook, and I didn't know that either. I'm like making like, I was like thinking like maybe he just didn't use his Facebook because he's like 30. I don't know. Yeah, so I was like just giving him the benefit of the doubt, and turns out dude was trying to sell a 12-year-old, and I don't know if he was gonna sell me or not or what, but yeah, that was weird. And then I also thought to myself, well, he was probably going to cut off my feet and try selling them to some dude that likes feet. Or selling me for my feet. I don't know. It's weird. And then everybody was, like, making fun of me. And they're like, well, you are 4'10", and he was trying to sell a 12-year-old. And you wear bows in your hair. And you kind of look like a kid. And I'm like, that's messed up. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't even know what to title this, and now you know why I don't know what to title. Oh, also, if this ever happened to you, please comment down below and let me know, because that'd be very interesting. But yeah, I will see you guys next week at 6 o'clock Central Time. Peace!